Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. My name is Anna, and I have been working with mindfulness, with yoga, and personal growth for over 18 years. And I've taught in many different settings, from yoga studios and schools to corporate environments like this. And what I've seen again and again is that mindfulness is not some mystical thing you need to go to a retreat for. You absolutely can, and it's wonderful, but you don't have to. It's not about emptying your mind or sitting cross-legged on a mountaintop. Rather, it's something very practical. It's about how we show up in our lives, moment by moment, and including how we meet ourselves, our work, our colleagues, our deadlines, and our challenges. And let's face it, most of us spend a large portion of our waking lives at work. So if we can't be present there, where can we? In fact, the workplace is one of our greatest opportunities to practice mindfulness, not separate from life, but part of it. So today, I'd like to take you on a journey, not a theoretical one, but an experiential one. We'll talk a bit about what mindfulness really is, what science tells us, why it matters in the workplace, and we'll also try it out together. Because mindfulness is like swimming. And you can read 100 books about it, but until you actually get into the water and practice by moving your arms and your legs, you don't really get an idea of what it is. So let's start here. What is mindfulness? There are many definitions, but my favorite one is very simple. Mindfulness is paying attention on purpose in the present moment with kindness and with an intention not to judge. And I want to focus especially on with kindness and non-judging. Why with kindness? Because often we think we should be present in a perfect way. We tell ourselves, oh no, my mind is wandering, I'm terrible at mindfulness. But the truth is, noticing that your mind is wandering, that is mindfulness. That is the practice. And if we're not doing it with an intention of kindness and compassion towards ourselves, we'll soon give it up. And the same goes for non-judging. We are human beings, and human beings judge. And that's okay. And that is why the definition says, with an intention not to judge. That is good enough to have that intention. As soon as we notice that we judge ourselves or others or the experience we have, we don't need to make a big deal out of it. It's enough to notice, that was a judgment. And then come back to the present moment with patience, with kindness. And when we become aware of our judgments, they don't have the same control over us. We can actually choose what we want to act on, what we want to believe in, and what to let go of. So mindfulness isn't about controlling your thoughts. It's not about being calm all the time. And it's not about achieving some perfect state of mind. Rather, it's about cultivating awareness, clarity, and a different relationship to whatever is happening in life, whether it's stress, anxiety, or joy. Mindfulness is a kind of mental hygiene, like brushing our teeth or taking a shower. It's not about fixing what's broken, but it's about remembering our natural state, our natural self. We don't do it to become perfect. But we do it to stay grounded and clear-headed and connected to the heart. It's a simple habit that prevents mental clutter from building up, helping us to feel more focused, calm, and present in everyday life. It's a kind of self-care from the inside out. Maybe take a deep breath in and out. So now you might wonder, okay, this sounds nice, but why at work? Why is mindfulness relevant in a professional environment? Well, let's be honest. Work today can be intense. We live in a world of constant emails, messages, notifications, endless to-do lists, and we're connected to technology, some of us almost 24/7. And many of us feel pulled in 10 different directions at once. And when stress becomes a constant part of work, it doesn't just affect our health. It shapes how we think, decide, and how we relate to our colleagues, how we show up with other people. And that matters. It determines more than our contribution. It influences our creativity, our communication, and the culture we create together. It's very difficult to be creative and innovative when we feel stressed. Because when we are stressed, the brain's threat system is activated, and it's directing energy towards survival rather than innovation. Creativity and problem solving come from an entirely different network in the brain, one that thrives on safety and curiosity. And when we have a lot of things to do, we might think that we are good at multitasking. But science is clear. Multitasking doesn't really exist. What we're doing is task switching. And every switch costs energy, clarity, and focus. So-called multitasking reduces productivity by up to 40%. And our attention gets fragmented and we make more mistakes. So multitasking is an illusion. And over time, it leads to more stress, exhaustion, and even burnout. And when we are in that state, not only do we suffer, but so does the quality of our work. So mindfulness can work as an antidote. It's a way and a practice that brings you back to focus, to clarity and presence, even in the middle of a busy day and constant demands at work. In fact, mindfulness can help us build what psychologists call cognitive resilience, the ability to recover more quickly after challenges and setbacks. We become less reactive and more responsive, which is incredibly valuable in demanding work environments. So mindfulness gives us tools. Tools to focus when we need focus. Tools to pause before we react. And tools to listen more deeply to one another. Tools to stay steady under pressure without losing heart and burning out. And when we bring these tools into the workplace, something shifts. Teams communicate better, creativity increases, conflicts becomes easier to navigate, and perhaps most importantly, people feel more human, more alive, and more connected. And this isn't just a nice idea. There is solid science behind it. Neuroscientists have shown that just a few weeks of regular mindfulness practice can actually change the brain. The amygdala, the part of the brain that triggers our stress response, becomes less reactive. And the hippocampus, the region in the brain central to memory, to learning, emotional regulation, grows stronger, increasing our ability to take a step back and gain perspective on ourselves, on others, and the world. And the prefrontal cortex, responsible for focus, decision making, and complex thinking, also becomes stronger. And these are all qualities that directly improve how we think, collaborate, and perform at work. And studies also show that mindfulness improves attention, reduces stress-related sick leave, and increases overall well-being. And companies like Google, Apple, IKEA, and many others have integrated mindfulness programs for exactly this reason. Because it's not just about being soft, it's about strengthening the mental and emotional foundations that support performance and resilience. And other studies have shown that people who practice mindfulness report higher levels of job satisfaction, better sleep, and even improved immune function. In fact, MRI scans have shown increased gray matter density in areas of the brain related to emotion regulation and perspective taking after just 8 weeks of consistent mindfulness training. That is powerful. But again, mindfulness is something you need to experience, not just understand. So let's take a moment and practice together now, just 2 or 3 minutes. You don't have to close your eyes if you want to, but you can if it feels comfortable. So sit comfortable in your chair. Place your feet on the ground and let your hands rest on your lap. Take a slow, deep breath in and exhale. You can exhale through your nose or your mouth. And now simply bring your attention to your breathing. Notice the natural rhythm of your breath, the inhale and the exhale. You don't have to change the breath. Just notice it. You might find that you judge the breath, and that's fine. Just notice that too. Noticing the inhalation, the exhalation. You can notice your breath in the nose, in your chest, or in your belly. It doesn't matter. In and out. And if your mind wanders, which it will, that's okay. Just gently guide it back to the breath. As if you were guiding a child by the hand. Just stay with a few more breaths in and out. In and out. And after next exhalation, slowly open your eyes if they were closed. And come back to the room and to the screen. That was it. just a couple of minutes. But maybe you noticed something already. Maybe a little bit more calm, maybe more presence, or maybe you felt restless and had a hard time focusing. Maybe nothing at all. That's okay too. It's all part of the practice. The point isn't to have a perfect meditation. The point is to practice noticing and gently returning over and over again. And this is exactly what mindfulness at work is about. When we get distracted in a meeting or stressed about a deadline, we notice it and come back. Mindfulness doesn't have to be long or complicated. Even short pauses like this one during the day can shift your nervous system from stress to presence. And when you build this into your daily life at work, a few mindful breaths before a meeting, a pause before sending an email, a moment of presence before a big presentation, it creates ripple effects for you and also for the people around you. So this is where I'd like to take a pause for now. Take a few breaths. Maybe you want to move your body a little bit. Maybe you want to stretch it. And just notice, how are you feeling in this moment? What do you notice in your body, in your mind? Perhaps you need to stand up, or you need to go and get a glass of water or a cup of tea so you can actually stay present for the remaining part. And if so, please press pause. Take a moment to do so. In the second half, we'll explore how mindfulness can become not just a personal tool, but a team culture. We'll look at emotional intelligence, communication, and leadership, and discover practical ways to weave mindfulness into the flow of everyday work. So far, we've looked at mindfulness as something you can do for yourself, a way to bring presence and calm into your own nervous system. But let's take it a step further. Imagine what happens when not just one person, but an entire team begins to practice presence. Meetings becomes more effective because people actually listen to each other. Feedback becomes easier because people can pause before reacting defensively. And creativity flows because the mind is no longer caught in survival mode. In short, mindfulness doesn't just make individuals more resilient, it has the possibility to transform team culture. Imagine a workplace where people truly listened in meetings, not distracted by checking phones or computers, or mentally checking out. A workplace where creativity and innovation flows freely because the mind isn't cluttered and there's a genuine connection to the body. Where colleagues can disagree respectfully without escalating into conflict. And this isn't some far away ideal. It's a natural effect of mindfulness in action. And it's not about perfection. A mindful culture doesn't mean people never get stressed. It means they recognize it sooner, recover faster, and support each other more skillfully. It's about building awareness into the system, not just the individual. And before we move toward practical tools again, let's address some common misunderstanding about mindfulness. The first one: I don't have time to meditate every day. You don't need to. Even 2 minutes of intentional presence can make a difference. 2 minutes. This isn't about quantity, it's about consistency. A few mindful moments repeated regularly matter more than one long session once in a while. I can't clear my mind is the second one. Good, that's not the goal. The mind is made to think. The goal is to notice the thoughts, not to stop them. Mindfulness creates space around our thoughts, so we can choose how to respond rather than to be swept away by the thoughts. Third one: I'm just not the mindfulness type or mindful type. There's no such thing as a mindful type. If you have a human brain, which I believe you do, you can train mindfulness. Just like a muscle, the mind strengthens through practice, no matter who you are. This is about practice, not personality. One of the key areas where mindfulness makes a huge difference is emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is our ability to recognize what we are feeling and understand how it affects us. The ability to communicate that in a way that others can hear and understand. And also to tune into what others are feeling. And here's the thing: we cannot develop emotional intelligence without awareness. If you're always rushing, always in your head, you don't notice what's really going on inside yourself or around you. Mindfulness helps us to slow us down enough so we can notice. To notice, I'm actually stressed right now. Or I'm holding tension in my shoulders. Or even, my colleague is saying yes, but their body language says no. That noticing changes everything. It makes you a better communicator, a better collaborator, and it strengthens both self-leadership and your ability to lead others. So mindfulness in that sense is the foundation of emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is the foundation of effective leadership, starting with the self. So mindfulness isn't just about the mind, it's also about the body. Our body is constantly sending us signals through physical sensations. For example, tension, warmth, coolness, tingling, or a sense of feeling heavy. It also communicates emotional states such as stress, fatigue, calm, or energy levels. But very often we are too busy to even notice. So by reconnecting with the body, we can catch early signs of stress. We can take care of ourselves better. We can regulate more effectively. And we can stay grounded even in difficult situations. So I want to invite you to another practice that we do together. It's called the body scan. And it's a way to bring awareness to the body. So for this practice, you can sit as you are. And again, you can close your eyes if you want to. Or you can keep them open, but gaze a little bit in front of you. A soft gaze. And start by taking a slow breath in and out. In through your nose. And out through your nose or mouth. And from here, bring your attention to your feet. Feeling your feet in contact with the floor or the shoes or whatever they are in contact with. Notice any sensations, maybe pressure, warmth, coolness. And slowly move your attention up to your legs, lower legs, your knees, your thighs. Just notice any sensations. You don't need to put name on them if that's difficult. And sometimes we might feel no sensations. Notice that as well. Notice that there are no sensations. And bring your attention up to your pelvic region, your hips, buttocks, your belly. You can rest there in the belly for a few moments. Maybe you can feel the sensations of the breath in your belly. Maybe not. Just notice. And again, there's no problem if the mind wanders. If you find yourself thinking about something completely different, notice that and see if you can bring yourself back with the intention of doing that with kindness. Continue up through your chest, your shoulders, arms and hands. No need to fix anything or change anything or get rid of anything. That's not what we're doing. We're just paying attention to what is actually here in this moment. And finally, notice your neck, throat, your face, facial muscles, your jaws, the small muscle around your eyes. Notice what happens when you bring your attention here. And you can end this short practice with taking one deep breath in and out. And if you've had your eyes closed, you can gently open them again. Reorient yourself back to the room, to the screen. This practice that we just did, the body scan, can be done in a few minutes, 5 minutes at your desk. And it's an amazing reset in the middle of a busy day. So, how can awareness of your body actually help you during your working day? You can do this short practice just like we did now, simply scanning the body for a few moments, and the body will give you clues if you're willing to listen. For example, if you scan the body before a meeting and notice a grip in the gut, you can ask yourself, what is the body trying to tell me? Perhaps there is some concern or fear about something that might happen in the meeting. And by regularly being in the broader landscape of the body, you become more familiar with it. You get to know its signals and ultimately know yourself better. In mindfulness, we practice to differentiate between physical sensations, feelings, and thoughts. As we learn to do that, it becomes easier to understand what's going on inside of us, to recognize patterns, and to make more conscious choices. Everything starts in the body. If physical sensations arises, then thoughts are created around it and often amplifying it. As we learn the language of the body, it becomes easier to recognize what we are truly experiencing. If you notice uncomfortable sensations in the belly or chest, for example, prior to, say, a presentation, you can sit down and take some conscious breaths in and out. Take a conscious pause and meet what is there. In doing so, you're taking care of yourself rather than trying to push the discomfort away or ignore it. Something to be curious about is, what are the thoughts generated when I feel uncomfortable sensations in my body? What are thoughts that are generated when I feel uncomfortable sensations in my body? And what sensations do I experience in the body when I feel stress, anxiety, exhaustion? The body is always communicating to us. And mindfulness simply helps us to listen to it. Okay, so let's get practical. How do we actually bring mindfulness into the workday without adding another big to-do? So here are a few simple ways to bring it in to your workday. First one, a mindful pause. So that means before you send an email, or before you walk into a meeting or pick up the phone, take one deep breath. One inhalation, one exhalation. Just one. It takes 5 seconds, but it can completely change your tone and your level of presence. And it can really be just a micro pause. And here are some real life scenarios where you can insert moments of awareness with ordinary activities. So before opening your inbox in the morning, take one breath and set an intention for how you want to meet what's in there. Before giving feedback, check in with your body. Are you calm and centered? If not, pause, take a breath. During a tough conversation, feel your feet on the ground and let your breath anchor you. And at the end of the day, you can ask yourself, what did I learn today? What do I want to let go of? So all these small pauses build inner leadership, moment by moment. Another one is mindful breaks. So instead of scrolling your phone during a coffee break, take 2 minutes to simply notice your breath or look out the window and let your nervous system reset. And another one is use your senses as a gateway to the present moment. So for a few moments, give your full attention, awareness to what's right in front of you. The smell and taste of your coffee, the sounds around you, the touch of your body against the chair, the light and the colors that you see around you, or anything else. Your senses are always here. They can bring you back to the present moment anytime. Another practical thing you can do is start meetings with presence. This one is really powerful. Invite everyone in the meeting to take one deep breath together at the beginning of a meeting. Or begin with a short, guided 3-minute meditation. It shifts the whole energy of the room and gives everyone a chance to fully arrive before you start the meeting. Another one you can try is mindful walking. When you move during the day between tasks, from one workspace to another or between meetings, use those steps as a mini meditation. Notice your feet on the ground when you walk and the space around you as you walk. Be as much as you can fully present there with each step. If you want, you can even designate a mindful route if you want. It can be a specific corridor at work or the walk from the bus stop or subway or parking lot to your office. The intention for this walk is simple, to be fully present with your steps and your surroundings. And you do not have to walk in any particular way. No one will notice, but you will feel a difference. And a gratitude practice. At the end of the day, you can ask yourself, what went well today? Could be something very small. Appreciate it. Gratitude rewires the brain for resilience and helps us to close the day with perspective. Remember, whatever you choose to do, small steps, repeated often, makes the biggest difference. So let's try a very short practice together. Normally, in a live workshop, I invite you to pair up. But since this is a recording, I'll guide you in a slightly different way. So if you want, you can close your eyes for this. You don't have to. So first, think of the last time you felt really listened to. Someone gave you their full attention. You felt seen and heard. And if you cannot think of such a time, just imagine what it would feel like, what it would be like if someone truly showed up and listened fully without distraction. So how does that feel? What do you notice in your body? And now think about the last conversation you had at work, maybe with a colleague, a client, or your boss. And replay that conversation in your mind for a moment. And now ask yourself, during that conversation, how much were you truly listening? And how much were you already planning what to say next? Or distracted by your own thoughts? And this is not to judge yourself, it's simply to notice. We all do this. And you can you can open your eyes if you've had them closed. Mindful listening means being fully present to the best of our capability with another person, not just with our own agenda. So imagine what would happen if in your next meeting you gave someone the gift of your full attention. Just listening, without interrupting, without fixing, without rushing. That alone can transform a conversation, and over time, the culture of a team. So with mindfulness, we learn to listen without interrupting, pause before reacting, and speak with clarity and kindness. And this builds trust. It builds psychological safety, which is one of the strongest predictors of high performing teams. So, why does all of this matter? Because ultimately, mindfulness is not just about reducing stress. It's about how we choose to live and work. When we are present, we are more human. We connect better. We create from a deeper place. And we avoid burnout. And we remember that work is not separate from life. It is actually part of life. And here's the thing, mindfulness is contagious. When you bring it into your day, others can feel it. It shifts the atmosphere around you. And to summarize, mindfulness cultivates 5 essential qualities. Focus, the ability to direct attention where it matters most. Clarity, seeing situations more clearly with less noise. Compassion toward ourselves and others. Creativity, opening up to new ideas and perspectives. And curiosity, meeting the moment with openness instead of judgment. And before we close, I invite you to reflect on a few things. So if you want to, you can also close your eyes for this. You don't have to. And then ask yourself, what kind of presence do I bring into a room. What kind of presence do I bring into a room? And what kind of impact does my nervous system have on others? And it's always important when we reflect like this to be kind to ourselves. Don't forget the kindness and compassion. It's important. Because sometimes it's challenging to find the answers to these questions, these reflections. What kind of impact does my nervous system have on others? And what would shift if I made even 5% more space for presence each day? What would shift then? And what is one small way I could bring mindfulness into my work this week? What is one small way I could bring mindfulness into my work this week? Not a big, complicated new routine, just one small thing. Maybe a mindful breath before a meeting. Maybe a 2-minute pause at lunch. Maybe doing as best as you can to be fully present when someone speaks. And choose one thing and try it out. And if you forget about it, you can just come back to it. You can just try it again when you remember. It's very human to forget. And the beauty is that we can start all over again. Also remember that mindfulness isn't about adding more tasks to your to-do list, and it's not to become perfect. It's about changing gradually how you show up with more presence, clarity, and compassion. And that includes yourself. Again, this isn't about fixing yourself. It's about remembering who you already are beneath all the noise. So thank you so much for being here, for taking part of this session. My hope is that you walk away not only with a deeper understanding of mindfulness, but also with a felt sense of what it can bring to you, to your colleagues, and to your workplace. And remember, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be long. Even the smallest mindful moment can make a huge difference for you and for others. Thank you so much, and may you carry presence into your work and into your life. And may your work become not just a place of doing, but a space of being. Thank you.